Today we have an unboxing video of Carcassonne BigBox. I'm a fan of Carcassonne, and so you can see I have the city, I have the castle, and my favorite, of course, is the Star Wars edition of Carcassonne with the Kylo Ren expansion. Hi, I'm Kevin Baker, and you're watching Shangri-La, my YouTube channel for tabletop board games, birding, and other educational videos. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment of what you'd like to see, what you'd like to have reviewed. Now, I borrowed this copy of the Carcassonne BigBox from my friend Michael of Roofs Done Right. If you need a new roof or roof repair in Palm Beach or Martin counties, reach out to Michael of Roofs Done Right. Contact information is in the show notes. Okay, so let's take a look at Carcassonne BigBox. It not only includes the base game of Carcassonne, which is an excellent tile placement game, where all of the features need to match up nicely, but it also includes 11 expansions. So it includes inns and cathedrals, traders and builders, the Abbot, the river, the flying machines, the messages, the ferries, the gold mines, the magicians, the robbers, and crop circles. Very mysterious. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see what we have in here. More games that have multiple expansions should come out with a big box edition, so you can get all of your expansions into one box. So let's do this over here. So we have tiles, and nice high quality cardboard. There's a die with 1, 2, or 3 different pips on it. There's a chicken. We'll find out whether the chicken made it across the road or not. Pop out those. And plenty of different tiles to punch out. One score track. Extra things. When you have 50, then you have 100. So you can go to even higher scores. And we'll figure out all of these different things, figure out what they mean, figure out what to do with that part. So this is a box inside of a box. So instructions on how to make your own internal trays within the box. That's interesting. Some assembly required. So this is one more expansion. Got a bridge across the river. One very reasonable rule book, only 24 pages to explain 11 expansions, which Carcassonne's an excellent game because it's fun to play and you can learn the rules relatively quickly. One more bag of parts. Then there are instructions inside the box to tell you where to put each different expansion. So, because you can mix and match which expansions you want to put into play. First you learn the base game, then you add 1 or 2 expansions, and learn a few other expansions, and as you go and the weeks go on, you get to keep refreshing it by adding new expansions. And here we have lots and lots of meeples. Plenty of meeples. Nice high quality wood. And there's your fowl. Okay. Now I'll take a look at the rule book and I'll figure out how to play each of the different expansions. Okay, well, we do have, speaking of big box, we do have FlamingoCon number 32, Bigger and Better, coming up. That's going to be a 2-day board gaming convention, 27 hours of board gaming. That's going to be August 15th and 16th at the Embassy Suites in West Palm Beach. And can't wait to see you all there in person, and we'll play some board games. Thank you again to Michael for letting me do this unboxing video of his Carcassonne BigBox. And we will see you all in person at the next FlamingoCon. Be well. Okay, we did the unboxing of Carcassonne BigBox. Now we have the reboxing of Carcassonne BigBox, because with the base game plus 11 expansions, there's a lot of pieces to sort through. And also, we can take a look and see how it all fits in the box. But first, we're going to do a test to see whether the box insert actually works. So if you shake the box this way, and then it's turned on its side and upside down, flipped around again. Okay, will all the pieces be scrambled together, or will things still be in the correct spot? So this is a test to see how well things are organized. So we have the manual still in the top, perfect. Then we have the scoring pad in the correct place, very nice. Each of the different sets of pieces are still in their original bags, which I put them back into their bags, and they have specific spots for each one. And so you can see it's clearly marked on the box where each one goes. And so these are for the base game. And there's this nifty little tray here that slots in. The edges are tall enough that they match up with the top of the box. So when you open it up, everything is still in its correct place. So this is what's known as a good box insert. It actually holds things in place. So congratulations to the people that designed this box insert. So that is well done. That's not a given. A lot of games come and everything will be scattered all over the place. So the other interesting thing are these pieces right here. So these there were 4 of them that were attached together, so you've got to separate them according to the perforation. You then have to fold them in half, and then you slide them in, just like that, and they click right underneath into holes that are already the correct size and ready for them. And that keeps everything in its correct position. Now for the base game, you've got 2 sections. One section here with 36 pieces, and another section here with 35 pieces. Okay, and those are going to be your 71 pieces to start the game. The base game is actually 72 pieces because one of the pieces is the starting tile, which has a backside that is actually darker than the other starting pieces. And so you can take a look, and no, it's not in here, it's not in here. Where did I stick that? Did I put it in with the river? So that's a river tile. Okay. So that one is in there. And we'll have to figure out where that went. The starting tile and the 50 and 100 scoring tiles have their own spot right here. I should have looked right here for the darker one with the dark back. Let's see, that back is darker than the standard ones. So this shows you the spot for the starting tile. So the setup is really easy for the base game. You just put the starting tile out there, and then you have a scoring track that you put out, and everybody grabs their color of meeples. And for this, they recommend just the 8 meeples of the regular size. You can see there's 2 different size meeples here, the small meeple and the big meeple. So they say, take these, you won't need these yet, those are part of an expansion. But we'll take blue. So blue has 8 meeples, and they say you don't need that one, just the 8 here. One of your 8 meeples goes on the 0 spot on the scoring track. And then so yellow will get into this game. Don't need that. And got the yellow in here. Don't need yellow's big one. So if green was also in the game, you could move green's pieces. Yellow takes 1 piece, puts over there. Green takes 1 piece, puts over there. Green doesn't need the big one. And so everybody will have 7 meeples of their own color. And that is the extent of the setup that they recommend. And then these pieces would be shuffled and put in stacks around the table, so people could pull from whichever stack that they want. Now, what I would recommend for an additional setup would be slightly different, just because I've played this game hundreds of times and it's a fantastic game, and I think there's some slight tweaks to make it move a little faster. As part of the setup, I think that each player should draw their first tile. And so you should not wait until the start of your turn to draw a tile. Drawing a tile should be the last thing you do in your turn, so that while other people are playing, you can be thinking about where you want to place the tile. And by the time it's your turn, you can place the tile immediately. And then the game flows much nicer. The other tweak that I would recommend, normally each time you lap the scoreboard and get back to 0, you would take a 50 tile. So blue would get a 50 for going all the way around. Then blue laps the board again, flips it over to 100, laps it again. Oh no, what do? Well, you take another 50 tile. I think that's a little silly. You can actually make the scoreboard work properly if instead of using these tiles, you take the nifty larger meeple and also put that in there, and put that there, not there. So now each time blue laps the scoreboard and gets back to 0, the large meeple advances 1. That shows how many times blue has scored 50 points. Blue makes it around again, then boom. And so blue makes it to here. You can see at a glance that blue has scored 50 times 2, which is 100, plus 12, 112 points. So these are completely unnecessary tiles and can be returned to the box. So we'll stick them back in their place in the box. So that is the better way to keep track of scoring. Now let's look at some gameplay to show you what are legal moves and what are not legal moves. So if blue is your youngest player and gets to start first, blue takes their piece and has a choice. Can go city to city like that and place a knight standing up in the city, or can place the road to road, put a traveler on the road like that. Those are both perfectly legal moves. What blue can't do is place a road that ends at a field or a road that ends in a city. So those are not legal moves. So in this case, you can make more points by finishing cities. So blue would want to put a knight in the city like that. And then oops, this one, we'll put that aside for now. Then blue will immediately draw a new tile. You can keep your tiles secret so that nobody knows what you're going to do, but you should take a look at it as soon as possible. Now yellow goes. Now yellow could legally place this tile here and then, but would not be able to place a knight in the city because the city is already occupied. You could place a traveler on the road. You could actually place the road-to-road connection here and be on a longer road, or you could place the knight in the city here, and then eventually these two cities may connect, in which case, if somebody has a majority of the meeples in the city when they connect and when it's finished, then the player with the most meeples in there would get all of the points. If the players have the same number of meeples, then they all get full points. So let's place that here, and then yellow takes a new tile, and then green says, oh, you've left me a nice long city here. I'm gonna take that here and place a traveler on the road there, and then take a new tile, and then blue says, okay, you've left me a good spot for my monastery. So monasteries, you want to have them completely surrounded in order to finish them. So blue plays a monk into the monastery and then draws a new tile. The monastery could not be played next to a road. It could not be played next to a city. It's got to be open field to open field. Could be placed out here, but that only has one next to it, so it's not as good of a placement as tucking it in as much as possible. It is also a good strategy to place tiles leaving open spots for monasteries so that they can be completed quickly later. Yellow decides, yeah, I want to compete with that, and let's make a nice big city. Now, yellow can lay a meeple down, and it becomes a farmer. Farmers are interesting in that they cannot be removed. They will stay there the entire game. And if you run out of meeples, that's your own darn fault. Okay. Now the farmer, at the end of the game, it will get scored. And they score 3 points for each completed city surrounding that field. So you can score a lot of points, but you really have to keep track of the farmers because that's usually who determines the winner, is the person that farmed the most cities. Okay, green is going to go here and place a monk in the monastery. The other way to win is scoring tiles more than once. So green is successfully getting points for the road and for the monastery. Now, roads are scored 1 point for each road tile. So far it's 1, 2, 3, 4 points, but you don't get that until both ends of the road are closed off. At the end of the game, for the roads, you would get 1 point for each tile on that road that you control. I mean, the same also applies to cities, except for cities, you only score half as much for cities at the end of the game. So a city is 2 points per tile and 2 points per coat of arms symbol. So that was green. Now blue says, oh, that's a really nice road you got there. We'll see if you can keep it. So blue is going to sneak in here and try to steal the road, or that green has been working so hard to build. So very sneaky. And then yellow says, okay, I'm gonna come here, stick a meeple onto here, and try to steal all the points for that city. Because if yellow can connect here, yellow would have 2 to the 1 for blue. And then last thing you do in a turn is take a tile. And then green says, how dare you try to steal my road? I'm going to fight you for it. Okay. And then blue says, okay, it's go time. And connects into the road. And then since blue isn't playing a meeple elsewhere, blue is going to drop a farmer into this field. You have to make sure that there are no other farmers connected to that open field. So right now, this field connects to here, stops to here, comes around here, goes around the monastery, and is on this side of this city. And it may connect here, in which case the yellow and blue farmers would be in the same field. Okay, then last thing blue does is takes a new tile. Yellow, let's see, what does yellow want to do? Yellow would like to be a knight in the city, because it believes it's going to farm as many cities as possible for that farmer. Okay, green has another monastery, and it's going to go onto here, go into that monastery, closing off the end of that road, and has high hopes of completing that road segment. That's not going to help. Blue has a new half of a city, and you can complete it on the same turn that you play it. So boom, so you count the tiles, 1, 2, times 2 is 4 points, and then you can immediately take off your tile. So you must have a meeple available to play in order to get the points. So blue just scored 4 points, so you move the scoring up here to 4. Nobody else has scored anything yet. Okay, then blue takes a new tile. Yellow, let's see what's yellow gonna do. Yellow has got a road tile and wants to build out this way to give more room for its farm. Pulls a new tile. Green, what does green want to do? Green wants to finish surrounding the monastery, so we'll play a tile there. And then last thing, you take a new tile. That's the tile that yellow wanted. Blue, what does blue want to do? Blue can't get in on that one over there, but wants to finish off here. So blue is going here in order to surround blue's monastery. And then yellow. So you can decide which side you want to put it on, but the correct side is this way, so that the city part is connected to the farm, and so you're on your farm. Then drawing a new tile for yellow. Green is going to come in here like this and be a knight in that city, and then draw a new tile. Also the one that yellow wanted. Blue, let's see, what does blue want to do? Blue wants to go here, in here. So this tile is actually going to get scored 3 ways. It's going to get scored for the city, it's going to get scored for the road, and scored for the monastery. That is one of the keys to winning, is scoring a single tile multiple times. Okay, yellow has another monastery. What are you going to do with that? Let's stick it out over here next to the other monastery. Now it is risky to play your last meeple, because then you don't have meeples left to complete other pieces. So yellow is going to be looking to finish some stuff to get some meeples back. Green would also like to finish some stuff. So green is going to come over here. I could meeple this right here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to save this so that I can grab instant points later. And then blue. What's blue going to do? Blue will just add onto this city here. Take a new tile. Blue could meeple the road, but decided against it. Yellow would like to finish some stuff. So let's finish this end of the road so that it can eventually finish that end of the road. Take a new tile. Okay, and then green. So green is going to go here for a quick 4 points for green. And taking a new tile for green. Blue. Just gonna keep making this city bigger. New tile for blue. And still that's the tile that yellow wanted. Okay, so, oops. This is yellow's tile. Yellow doesn't have any meeples left. Can't play it there. So it's just going to stick a meeple onto here. By doing this, who knows, maybe it will connect the farm a little farther. We'll see. Okay, green. So green would like to get in on the farming game. And this area here is not being farmed yet. So green could go here. And this farmer is currently farming the one completed city here and whatever else it connects into. So new tile for yellow, new tile for green. Blue. Blue says, oh, I need meeples back, so I'm just gonna finish this off anyway. Okay, so yellow has 2, blue has 1, so blue gets nothing. Yellow gets all the points. And so you count up the tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus the coat of arms, 7. So that is times 2, is 14 points for yellow. So the small meeple whoosh, goes all the way up here to 14 points. Okay, very nice. And blue gets a tile. And so on. That is the basic gameplay. And you keep going until you run out of tiles. Just a note, this is a village, it is not a city. So you can't, in the base game, play anything into that village. That's just a end, this is a village. It ends the road, but it is not a place where you could play. If this was the end of the game and all of these were gone, then you could score up the remainder of the unfinished areas. So yellow would get 4 points for this monastery. So 4 tiles, the surrounding tiles plus the tile itself. So that's 4 points for yellow. So that's 18. And then you would say for this road, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 points for the road, up to 22. You only get 1 point for the unfinished city here. 1 point for this unfinished city here. So that's another 2 points for yellow. And you take back your tiles. And then green would get 1, 2, 3 points for that. Another point for that. That's 4 points for green. And for this road segment here, there's a blue and a green on that, so they would both get points. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for green, and 7 for blue. And this monastery is 6 tiles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 points for green. And then this monastery is 5, 6, 7. 7 points for blue. And then this road segment here is 2, 1, 2. So 2 points for blue. And then this city is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the coat of arms. So that's 5 points for blue. Okay, and then we got 4 points for, did we already do that? I think we already got this one. We didn't get the 2 points for that road segment there. Hopefully we did that right. Okay, so then you do the farms. The farms didn't connect, so they are in distinctly different areas. So this farm ends here and comes into here, has 1 completed city. So it gets 3 points for blue. 1, 2, 3. Yellow, we'll do in a second. Green has 1 farm here, so that's 3 points for green. And then yellow, this farm has 1, 2, 2 cities, so that's 6 points. Bringing yellow into the lead and wins the game. Congratulations, yellow. And that is the basic gameplay of Carcassonne, the base game, which is an excellent game. I highly recommend it. It's really easy to teach, really easy to get onto the table. Ages very young can get into the game. They say ages 7 and higher. Those kids are good at matching things up. Now we will take a look at some of the expansions. The best expansion to introduce first is called the river. So with the river, what you do is you take the original starting tile, see the black background, see how that's darker than the normal one, and you can take it and you can put it aside. And instead find the tile for the river called the source and place that out there. And so then you find the tile called the lake, and this is going to be the last or the end of the river. Then you take the other river tiles and then you shuffle them up. And then you put the lake on the bottom. And then you take turns drawing from the river and placing river to river, continuing from the source. Now, here's an interesting thing. We've got another bend. So the important thing is river tiles have to be placed legally. So you're never allowed to place a bend in the same direction as the previous bend right next to it. So this one bent that way, and then this one can't bend the same way. It also can never go back in the direction of the source. So the only legal way to play this is this way. So this water cannot go back in the direction of the source. And then the next player pulls this one out, and they can play that here. Now there are roads on that one. So if it's green's turn, green can say, yes, I'm going to put a traveler on that road. And this road goes over that bridge and keeps going. So that is all part of the same road. That is not two ends of a road. And then blue pulls the next one and says, I can go this way. So even though this one turned this way, there's another piece in between. So this one is allowed to turn back in this direction. And blue says, yeah, get me in on that city action with a knight. Yellow then goes, places here, and yellow says, I know it's early, but I'm going to be the first one to put out a farmer. So farming along the river can be a really good strategy. And green cannot put the piece this way. It can never go back in the direction of the source. It must go this way. And green puts a traveler on the road. Blue says, okay, there's going to be a monastery. So blue puts a monk in the monastery. Okay, yellow says, okay, continue there. Green doesn't want to put it this way to give a city for yellow's farm. So instead goes this way and puts a knight in the city. Blue goes here and says, okay, I'll go in here. Yellow has the lake, and that is right there. And that looks like a monastery on the lake. So yellow could put a meeple in the monastery. You can never put a meeple on the river unless you're playing a completely different version of Carcassonne called Amazonas, where you could actually have a boat that goes down a completely different river. But that's a totally different game. So that is how you put out the 12 tiles of the river. And that is the first expansion that you should definitely get into play as soon as possible. The second expansion to put into play is called the Abbot. These are the abbots. So those are meeples that are abbots. So you give one abbot to each player. So in the course of play, you draw a tile like normal. Then if it's yellow went last, now it's green's turn. If you can play a regular meeple, or you can play an abbot if you don't play a regular meeple. Abbots can only be played in either monasteries or on gardens. This is a garden. So if green went here, they could then play the abbot into the garden and then score the city there for a quick 4 points. And then that abbot would be in the garden. Then blue would draw one, and blue is going to add to the city that way. There's a garden next to the city. Blue decides to put a abbot into the garden. And then yellow says, oh, here's a nice monastery. Yeah, one good monastery deserves another. So you can put an abbot into a monastery. And then you continue around. And so green is going to go here. And it's going to place a piece into there. Blue says, okay, there's here. Now, I don't have another abbot, so that garden is completely useless to me. But I can meeple the city. So yellow, green, blue, so they were all picking their tiles ahead of time. So yellow says, what am I gonna do with this piece? Who knows? Yellow's gonna start a road down here and go onto the road and then draw another piece. Now green says, I'm gonna go here. Now if you decide not to play a meeple, you can instead choose to remove your abbot, and it scores the same way a monk would. So you count the surrounding pieces and the piece itself. So that's 6. So that would score an immediate 6 points for green. And so that is how you get your abbot back and then have it ready the next time a monastery or meeple comes out. And so blue says, well, that was nice. Why don't I go over here? But no, there's quick points to be had. So taking that one, so that's 2 points for blue. And then taking a new tile. So yellow is going to cap this end of that road, decide not to put on it instead. Make the silly decision to take back this abbot for a quick 2 points for yellow. Legal, but not really advisable. And that's how you play the abbots. The next expansion is called Inns and Cathedrals, and it's denoted by this symbol of the meeple on the various additional tiles that it adds to the game. Now, these two are the cathedral tiles. If you can complete a city that has a cathedral, you can score 3 points per tile and coat of arms symbol. So those are valuable. Now, the inns are the red roofed little cottages that are along some of the roadways. If you can complete a road that has at least one inn, then you get 2 points for each tile and completing that road. Now, for endgame scoring, it's still only 1 point per road tile and only 1 point per city tile, even if they have inns or cathedrals. With the inns and cathedrals, they also say to give each player their large meeple. So the large meeples, they're about 19 to 20 millimeters, and they count as 2 meeples in comparing the strength in any area. So if you end up connecting 2 roads together and one person has a big guy and the other person has a small guy, like say if this road was here and this road was here and they connected that way, the big meeple is worth 2, this is worth 1, so yellow would get no points. Then you would count this up. So 1, 2, 3 road segments, and there is a inn, so that's worth 6 points. There are 2 inns, but you do not get to multiply it again. It's only multiplied once by 2. And so that is the Inns and Cathedrals expansion. Now there are one other piece. This is a river tile that comes with this expansion. So if you're putting this in play and you're using the river, then you would take this and you would shuffle it into the river deck and use that as one additional river tile. There is at least one tile in the base game that looks like it's 4 different roads that end at an inn, or at least 2 inns, and those look pretty similar to the other inns, so I would consider that to be an inn, and so you would get 2 points for doubling that. Now, if you look carefully, this with a red roof is an inn. This with a brown roof is not an inn. Those are just thematic farms that do not count for anything additional with this expansion. Maybe it's part of another expansion, maybe it's part of a future expansion. Well, we'll just have to wait and learn and find out. But that's Inns and Cathedrals. Now let's take a look at the Traders and Builders expansion. 24 more tiles that get mixed into your base game. It also has another river tile that can make the river a little bit longer. And it comes with cloth, grain, and chicken. So to be a trader means that you finish off either yours or somebody else's city. So hypothetically, if green had been building this city and blue came along on its turn and placed the final piece, which finished off the city, green would get all of the points for the city, but then blue would collect 1, 2, 3, 4 chickens and 2 cloth and 1 grain. Now, the goods score at the end of the game. Whoever has the most of each of the different goods gets 10 points. If there's a tie, then both players get 10 points. So that's a nice way to move things along and help people finish different cities. So that's pretty cool. In the expansion, you have builders, those are these pieces, and pigs, those are those pieces. So for the builders, what would happen is, say green was building a city, putting a knight in the city, you can put the builder in with your meeple. So they would normally stand up. You can see there's the builder, and it goes in with a meeple. So pigs can't stand alone, builders can't stand alone. They always have to be with another piece. So I would say blue goes and puts in a meeple and a builder. Yellow, it goes in, goes here, takes 2 points for the road. Then green's turn comes along, and say green had this piece. If you continue to build a city that already has one of your builders in it, then you get to take your builder out and put it next to one of the stacks of tiles. And then at the end of your turn, so if that's, you place that tile here, you may place another meeple on it if you wish. And then, so the turn ends, the builder next to the stack of tiles means you get a additional turn. So you take your builder and you pull a piece, and you can then put it there and put another meeple in there. Builders can only be on cities and roads. They cannot be in monasteries. So this builder would go back into your supply and be available the next time. Say if the turns go around and you place a road tile on here, you could then play onto the road with the builder. And then the next time you added to that road, you'd be able to take your builder back off and then be available to then have another whole turn. You don't get 2 whole turns in a row because you only get the builder to come to the stacks on times when you play an additional tile, like this additional tile. If this was played on the end and you had a builder in there, you'd then get to take the builder off. And this interesting tile has a bridge going over the road. So those roads continue, and this road continues that way, but it does separate it into 4 different farms, assuming it didn't connect around here, which it does, so really it's 3 different farms. Okay, so that is how the builders work. The pigs work because they go along with the farmers. So if blue played a farmer laying the piece down, not on the road, actually in the field, and you can put a pig with your farmer. And so whenever somebody completes a city that has a coat of arms in it, like this is a coat of arms. So if this city gets completed, then all of the pigs score, that piece didn't fit. Pretend that one was there. All of the pigs would score 3 points for each of the completed cities that are along that route, or along that, let's see if that was there, and that was there. Then this pig is next to this city, so it would get 3 points and then come off. All of the other pigs, for all of the other players, would also score and then be removed. Now you do have the option, when your pig is being removed, you can take the farmer with you. Otherwise, a farmer would stay there to the end of the game, but you can choose when the pig is removed to also remove the farmer. Maybe it's in an area that won't get too many farms, or maybe you want to, on a future turn, have meeples left over so that you can farm other areas with the pig. And then you can then score multiple times. There's no end game scoring for pigs. They count for nothing. They don't break majorities. And that is the way you score pigs. And that is the traders and builders. Now let's take a look at the flying machines. Those are the ones that have a symbol on them of a wing. There's 8 of them, and they would get mixed into all of the other land tiles. When you're playing a flying machine, you can see that they have flying machines on them with an arrow. That direction is very important. What's happens is, say we have this hypothetical setup where you have yellow in a monastery, blue in a city, and green pulls a tile, and then decides to play here, and green has the choice. You could play on the road like normal, or can take either a small or a large meeple, your choice, and play directly on the flying machine itself. If you choose the flying machine, then you take the die that has 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3 on it, and you roll the die. In this case, it's a 2. So when you land, you can only go into incomplete roads, cities, and monasteries. So after picking the big one, because I wanted to overwhelm the other guys, this road is already complete, so you can't go into here, so you would join blue in the city. If you rolled a 3, you would go 1, 2, 3, and you would join yellow in the monastery. If you rolled a 1, what happens is there's no place to land on this first tile, so your meeple goes back to your supply, and you do not get to place a meeple this turn. You can't say, oh, I rolled a 1, so instead I'm going to go here on the road. No, you can't do that. You do not get to place a meeple if you tried to fly and failed. And that is how you use the flying machines. And you can always mix these in with your regular tiles. And if you don't want to play the flying machines, you can not have that part. And you just have more tiles in your base game. As Carcassonne is a fantastic game, the only thing wrong with it is the too few tiles. So add more tiles, more fun, longer game. Now let's take a look at the expansion called the Messages. These are the 8 messages, and they come with couriers, one in each person's color. The couriers get added to the scoreboard, so those go up there. And you can choose to move either your standard meeple or the courier whenever you score points. But whenever your courier makes it up to one of the brown shaded spots, which is every 5, then you can draw from the stack one of these couriers message tiles and then resolve it immediately. You can choose to take 2 points, so you always get a minimum of 2 points, or you can choose the action that is available. So on this first one, you can score your smallest city as if it was endgame scoring. On here, you can score your shortest road for endgame scoring. On this one, you can score your smallest monastery. On this one's pretty good. You get an extra turn. So if you combine that with a builder, you might get 3 turns in a row. And then for this one, you can get 2 points per coat of arms in every city with at least one of your knights. So that could be a big scoring one. This one here, you get 2 points per knight for anywhere in play. So 2 points for each of your knights in play. That's nice. This one is 2 points for each of your farmers. And in both of these, you do not return your meeple to the supply. In this one, you actually do get to score and return any meeple that you have from a road, city, monastery, or field. You can score it and then return to your supply. Or if you don't have the majority in any of the areas, then you can just choose to return it to your supply without scoring. And so these would be stacked up, shuffled in a stack. After it's resolved, you stick it back face down, the bottom of the stack, so we can cycle through a bunch of times. Now, important on the scoring, you do not pull messages in final scoring. So if you're adding up the different remnants of pieces that are left on the board and moving your meeples, those do not get message bonuses. But what you do in final scoring is, say you have one here and one here, you do figure out how many points you have here. Say you have 9 points, and you would then take this off and move this one ahead up to 12, so that you'll remove the courier and you'll only have one meeple on the scoring track for final scoring. If you do want to use a completely different meeple, like say one of the Abbots for your 50-point one, as you're moving that around, then you can do that as well. But that was just the way I would keep track of scoring. Okay, that's the Messages. Looks good. The next expansion is called the Ferries. You can tell because they have little boats on them. See the little tiny boat? So there's 8 of those, and you mix these into your other tiles. And when they come out, if you get one of these pieces, you can put that on there. And then these little wooden pieces No, they're not roads from Settlers of Catan. They are ferries, and you use them to connect between any two of the little ends of the roads that go over the lakes. So, assuming blue was on here, you can first place the piece. Second, you can place one of your meeples. And then third, you can place the ferry. So if you place the ferry there, all of a sudden, yellow is in command of that road, which then goes all the way across the lake. And so if green gets a piece, if you get a piece that you can play, and it connects to a road that has a ferry on it, you can then move the ferry. So if green got that one, they could decide to actually move the ferry this way. And then all of a sudden, there's two separate roads. Then you score the roads as normal, and that's the way the ferries work. The next expansion we have is called the Gold Mines. It has 8 new tiles that get shuffled into the base tiles, and it comes with 16 gold bars, because each time you pull one of the tiles that has a gold bar on it, you place it and you put a gold bar on that tile and a gold bar on any additional tile that is surrounding it. So you have your choice either this way or that way. So you could stick a gold bar onto this tile. The bars are on the tiles, not on any specific feature. But if yellow then played on here, and then you have green comes along, and say green decides to play on here for some reason, and on here, this feature then is closed off. And so if at least one feature, a road, a monastery, or a city gets closed off, then you get to take all of the gold that is along that feature. So yellow would get 2 gold. At the end of the game, during final scoring, you can see how much that gold is worth. So if you collected between 1 to 3, you multiply it by 1. So that would only be worth 2 points. But if you had 6, that would be 6 times 2, or 12 points. If you have multiple players that are on the same feature, you collect all the gold and you start with the person that had, who is the active player, and they give the gold to themselves first, and then rotate back and forth until all the gold is distributed. If multiple features are finished at the same time, the active player gets to decide which feature is going to be resolved first for the distribution of gold. The next expansion is called the Magicians. It has 8 more tiles to get shuffled in, and they have a magic hat on them. And it comes with the orange, which is a witch, and a purple, which is the mage. So in this scenario, when you pull a tile that has a magic hat on it, you place the tile, the witch and the mage start off to the side, and then you can pick one of them to add in. So first you can say, let's take the mage, and we're going to put the mage into this road here and say green was starting, and green is going to put that on there. And the mage, that's the taller one, gets you 1 additional point per tile when finishing off one of the features. Whereas the witch, you get half of the total points when finishing off a feature. If the next person pulls a tile that has the symbol on it, the magic symbol, they can either add a new one, and it can't be added to a place that already has one of these symbols, or they can move one to another feature. So the mage and the witch can never be together. If there's no legal place to play it, then it goes off to the side. And that is the mage and the witch. Okay, now let's take a look at the robbers expansion. These are robbers now. And the symbol on the 8 additional tiles is a bag with a knife next to it. So you're getting robbed at knife point. Okay, so there's 8 of these to shuffle in, and you give each person one of the robbers in their own color. And whenever one of these tiles comes out, say if green collected one of these and decided to play it here, first you place the tile, and then if it's got the bag symbol, everybody takes their robber in turn order and places it on the board. So the green is going to place the robber here next to the blue, and then blue is going to place the robber next to the yellow, and then the yellow also wants to get in on the action for the blue, because blue is about to score some points. Okay, so green then can decide to place a meeple. So maybe they decide to farm this area. Okay, and then point scoring. So first, blue figures out how many points. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 points for blue. So blue gets the meeple back and goes from 4 up to 18. And then green and yellow each get 7 points and then get their robbers back. So 7 points for green goes up to 10, and 7 points for yellow goes up to 13. And you can see blue, that robber, didn't get points for yellow because yellow's thing didn't finish, but the robber sticks along with the scoring meeple and stays with it until it actually scores based on a feature. You don't get half the points rounded up for points from the robber, so you don't get half of those 7 points. Now, if you are the active player when the tile comes out, if blue pulled a tile here, blue is already on the scoring track. Blue can decide to move to a different place. Blue can't steal from himself, but blue could choose to move it to here. If it was a different player like yellow that pulled the additional tile, yellow is not on the track, so yellow would place their meeple on, and green is not on the track, so green would place a meeple on as well. Blue is already on the track, does not have the option to move the robber to another player because Blue was not the active player. And so that is how you rob, mostly from the bank. You're not really taking points from each other, but it's a good way to help each other get some more points. The last of the 11 expansions to explain is called the crop circles. Those are these things here. They've got a grain symbol on them. So for those 6 additional tiles that you shuffle into the deck, if you draw one of them, you play your turn as usual, and then at the end of the turn, you resolve the crop circles. So I'll show you how that works. So if yellow drew one of these, yellow would put that in here and then play a meeple into that city. Now the crop circles have 3 different types. You got the pitchfork that affects farms. You got the shield that affects the cities. And then you have the club symbol, which affects roads. And so the active player, yellow, gets to choose between 2 options: to either remove a meeple from in this case, it's going to have to be a city, or add a meeple to a city. So you have those 2 choices, and it starts with the player to the left. So yellow is going to say, okay, I don't want to remove, so because I like the fact that I've got a meeple in there, so it chooses to add. So starting with the player to the left, green adds a meeple into here. Blue's turn. Blue does not have a meeple in a city, so nothing happens. Okay, and then lastly, yellow has a meeple and adds another meeple into that city. And then it comes to green's turn. So green is going to add a meeple into here, draws that one, immediately scores the 4 points for that city. So it gets 4 points up on the scoreboard. And then this is the farming symbol. So green says, aha, well, I don't have any farms, but there's 2 other juicy farmers out there that need to be removed from the board. So it chooses to force the other players to remove a farmer. So blue loses a farmer, yellow loses a farmer, and green doesn't have a farmer and therefore has nothing to lose. And that's what happens with the crop circles. That's interesting. So I guess it's aliens abducting farmers there, or then returning them on future rounds after the game is well and truly probed. Well, that is the base game plus 11 expansions to Carcassonne, the big box. So that is an excellent game, and it is a lot of fun. Can't wait to try it out with my board gaming group. Thank you again for Michael of Roofs Done Right for loaning me this game to do the unboxing. If you need a new roof in Palm Beach or Martin County, or need a roof repair now that we're starting to get some rain again, you might find that you need a roof repair. Check out Roofs Done Right in the show notes. Okay, thank you all, and hope to see you in person at the next Flamingo Con. Be well.